Really jumping on this one at the peak of relevance. Hello everybody, Brian from the channel Brian here. Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of one Harley Quinn is the newest DC Expanded Universe movie, a quasi-sequel to Suicide Squad, a sort of Harley Quinn origin movie, and also a team-up movie for the Birds of Prey when it can find the time. It does feel like it has a bit of an identity crisis. With the success of Joker, the fans ravenously asking for director's cuts, actors leaving the franchise, and some movies actually starting to get good reviews, Birds of Prey was unfortunately released at a stage where Warner Brothers just has no idea what to do with it. You want to talk about how the sequel trilogy didn't have a plan? Your head'll explode talking about the DCEU. But in comparison to a Rise of Skywalker or a Suicide Squad, Birds of Prey is successfully a movie. I mean, it plays with chronology a little, but not anything more complex than the plot of Deadpool. The movie is focused on Harley herself, so while it's easy to be unenthralled with many of the film's subplots, as the characters we're following aren't always the most interesting people in the world, it is substantially more comprehensible than those other films. What it really comes down to is, unfortunately, Birds of Prey is a movie made for Stan Twitter. It is not really concerned with making sense, so long as there's enough character moments to make an ample set of GIFs out of. This movie just does not give a fuck. It does not make logical sense for Ewan McGregor's Black Mask to be as campy as he is in this movie, but having him act this way is something people are going to remember. You don't go into Birds of Prey to see Black Mask, you go in to watch Ewan McGregor act goofy in the costumes you'd expect Black Mask to wear. That doesn't mean the decisions it makes are always wrong, though. The soundtrack and score, for one thing, is never annoying, and given Harley Quinn's quirky punk rock persona, it's a golden ticket to do and go wherever you want as a director in shaping your vision for her. Using the song Barracuda by Heart in the climax is a fantastic, if predictable, example. But more audacious than that was in the background of one action scene, there's just this loud, electronic trunch and punch of a Halsey song. And for the first time between either of the movies she's in, I finally felt like I got what the charm of Robbie's Harley Quinn is. For those 2 minutes, I was completely sold on the noisy, frenetic persona they gave her. And it's funny, it's like I could hear every dude bro YouTube critic going, the soundtrack is obnoxious at that point. If this song was in Scott Pilgrim, you'd go nuts for it. Like, shut up. There's still no scene of Harley set to Cool Thing by Sonic Youth, so I guess we have something to hope for in the sequel. But the Stan Twitter pandering tone means the music is a victory among a sea of aspects that are mixed or mediocre. The film's sense of humor is very bad, which isn't to say I laughed at nothing. Margot Robbie is clearly loving playing Harley, and she's a good choice to play her, but most of what the script has her saying and doing is cringy and lame. Her accent's pretty inconsistent too. She wasn't as big of a Deadpool ripoff as I was led to believe. I guess that's a criticism you could make if Deadpool was, the only movie you've ever seen. But yeah, I mean, that scene where she really likes her egg sandwich was the crown jewel of Birds of Prey, desperately appealing to social media's juvenile impression of what is relatable. Let's talk about the costume design and gender dynamics, because, well, this is a female-driven blockbuster, and by law of the internet, I fucking have to. I would talk about this stuff anyway, to be sure, but the overly centralizing, reductive hot takes about gender dynamics are, as usual, overly centralizing and reductive to anybody who wants to reasonably talk about them. And you know, what's weird about Birds of Prey is that it really isn't one of those movies. The notion of girl power is certainly there by virtue of what it is, but it's not as showy with its girl power elements in a patronizing, surface-level feminism way that backhandedly sneers at the audience. This isn't even an all men are assholes movie akin to that Black Christmas remake. Almost every single character in the movie is a criminal in Gotham City's underbelly of organized crime. They are absolutely no different than the random mooks you would see in any other action movie. It's not implicating men, that's just how movies are. To employ the dude bro favorite and hypothetically reverse the gender of a character, if Harley was a man, the film could be pretty much the exact same and they probably wouldn't have a problem with it. In an attempt to defend themselves, the people lobbying accusations of misandry against Birds of Prey are really just affirming how many gender double standards they have when it comes to film. There's no scene of a character saying, "You can't do that, you're a girl," and then immediately getting beat up. Kathy Yan has the head on her shoulders enough to be smarter than that in the ways Birds of Prey can potentially affirm and empower women. As for the costume design, this whole gold overalls and pom-pom sleeves thing is, not really what I would think of when costuming Harley Quinn. She looks like a Square Enix character. Props to actually having multiple costumes with actual thought put into them for each character. Bold choice on Harley's part to literally wear a shirt with her name on it as she's trying to hide from crime lords. Don't get me wrong, Suicide Squad is also absolutely the wrong way to costume this character, even if it does more slightly resemble how I'd expect the character to look. I don't want to get into the logistics of male versus female gaze, but in Suicide Squad she was prioritized to be a sex object, and in Birds of Prey she was not. That new The Suicide Squad movie seems to get it right, where she looks like you'd expect, but is also not fetish fuel. I just don't understand why we can't have the red and black be her color motif. Why did it take till the third movie to have that be a big part of how she looks? What the f***? Anyway, this movie is fine. It wasn't nearly as annoying as I was made to think it would be. It's enjoyably corny enough, sometimes missing the mark, but that's just the risk you run when you're shooting for this Stan Twitter-esque tone. Although it does make for an overly simplistic, single-minded approach to story and character. Harley herself is a mixed bag, but I think it's important to note the clear passion Margot Robbie has for the role is what I remember most as opposed to anything I didn't like about her. I give Birds of Prey a solid 5 out of 10. Haven't seen Shazam, but next to Wonder Woman, out of all these new DC Universe movies, this is probably the second best one. But hey, did you like this movie more than me, less than me? And if you care to, please tell me. Anyway, if you like not only words, but the way I arrange and then say them, please consider liking this video and subscribing to me, Brian from the channel Brian. Thank you, and goodbye.